natural wine is dead.
I'm almost embarrassed to offer these wines because they're just so expensive.
Riesling in Australia is going to a whole other level next year.
Looking at what's selling and what's not, Shiraz is a problem. 2025, it's about the youth culture. G'day guys, happy new year. Welcome to 2025. Wade, how are you, my friend?
You're going good.
How's your Christmas and New Year's?
We filmed this before Christmas, so I don't know. I hope it was good.
I tried to put you on the spot.
No. We're a bit of transparency here, Tom.
Yeah, no. And these videos take several months to edit, of course.
Of course, we shot this in July.
Well, we are going to look at our trends of 2025. A big year, no doubt. A landmark year for me. Milestone year.
Yeah.
Getting old.
I am. Yeah, I'm 40.
Turning 20.
What?
Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway, it's going to be a great year. And as we like to do every year, we're going to have, we've had a bit of a think about some of the trends that we think might come across the Australian wine scene in 2025. We're probably totally wrong.
Probably. We usually are, actually.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we just go pretty boring and just say, like, you know, sustainability or something. So
Yeah.
you can't really go wrong with that. But no, we've got a few ideas. So anyway, Wade's picked 3 trends. I've picked 3 trends.
Yep.
I'm not sure you're a much trendier fellow, so you
Yes,
trends.
absolutely. Should I go first?
Yeah, go for it. What's trend number 1?
Trend number 1, natural wine is dead.
Oh.
So,
If you don't mind.
yeah. So, I mean, we've seen it in the sales of that category over the last...
Can we just define our terms?
No, that's a big part of the problem, actually, is that natural wine, basically, as a term, has been co-opted, where it used to speak for, like, innovation and progression, and for, like, really exciting new styles of Australian wine. I think now most people just associate it with just shit wine, so the category's gone massively backwards. All the best producers who sort of came out in that sort of first big breakout scene of natural wine in Australia, they really have progressed to the next level. Gareth at Gentlefolk is a perfect example of this, where it's like, yes, they were in like the natty crowd, but those wines have just become so much more than that now.
Yeah.
And they don't really fit into that category. And so natural wine is left as it's got this really bad stigma attached to it now.
It's kind of lost meaning as well because like a lot of the best producers in that scene, you mentioned some of them, I'll throw some other ones in there. You know, the Coda Barrels early on, Shodbrook, Yalma, Lucy Margot, Communa Buttons. There's lots of a lot of these guys are using sulfur now in their wines anyway.
Yeah.
And then you've got other producers who have never tried to label themselves as natural, like a Ravensworth or some of these guys who use, again, a tiny amount of sulfur at bottling. Like that's it, nothing else added, but it's steer clear. So it's impossible to define what it actually means, and I think that's confused consumers.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head there, which is like you kind of know what it is, and it's when you smell it and taste it and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty natty, which is always a pejorative. Like, it's not like, oh, geez, that's a real natural wine, isn't it? It's like,
that's natty?
Yeah, no, it's like, fuck, that's pretty natty. Like, which means it's faulty, or it's like, I don't know. So, basically, I think that category, we've seen it shrink dramatically, or at least it has representatively in our range over the last, I'd say probably 2 years, but really massively in the last year or so. And another thing is just the value in those wines. You know, they're cheap and cheerful and they're meant for smashing in the park. But now, you know, those wines are $35 to $45.
Yes. My first trend is that the old world classics are gone.
What do you mean old world classics? Like what?
I mean, like, okay, Champagne, Burgundy, you know, Bordeaux. When I say old world, I mean Australia.
Oh, you mean old world?
I mean old world.
Right.
Even a lot of, as much as we love them, a lot of Piedmont Res Barolo. The prices of these wines now, both internationally, but then you throw in how expensive they become by the time they come to Australia, make these wines somewhat unattainable for 99.9% of drinkers. And to me, if you want to be a great wine, people need to actually drink the stuff. It's no good for us all to one day dream of tasting, you know, Village Burgundy. It just doesn't make sense. And one of the reasons it doesn't make sense is there's so many great alternatives locally here in Australia. and from new emerging international regions as well, where the prices are still reasonable. So we were fortunate to taste the other day some remarkable South African wines.
And I would say they're like comparable to Australian prices.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, we tasted like some of those Chardonnays that we tasted. I'm like, shit, this is good.
Yeah.
And it sits on the shelf like $50 to $70.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's what a $50 to $70 Australian Chardonnay tastes like.
Yeah.
You know,
And there's other regions too, like interesting places like Portugal or Greece, Austria, South America, where there's some amazing value and interesting different styles come in. I'm almost embarrassed to offer these wines sometimes because they're just so expensive. And we go and cherry pick and try and find things that are really, really special. We try and keep the price as low as we can. But the fact is, the costs of bringing wines to Australia, the taxes we have, and just the rising costs from the vineyards themselves in Europe especially, has just made these wines go up 30 to 50% in price in the last few years. And it's just unsustainable.
my second trend for the year is the Riesling revolution.
A revelation.
A revelation, a renaissance, a whole bunch of other
Resurgence.
a resurgence, all of these things. Basically, my point is that Riesling in Australia is going to a whole other level next year. Instead of just taking the classic line and length, think like Clare or Eden Valley Riesling, lemon, lime, straight down the line. We're seeing a lot more producers sort of getting a little bit more artistic with it. Riesling's great at producing off-dry styles. I think like German Cabernet, we're actually starting to nail that style here in Australia finally. Clare Valley, John Hughes, obviously, a bunch of Tassie examples. But then also this whole other category which is opening up, which is like a textural Riesling category, where people are looking at like barrel ferment or egg ferment or a little bit more skin contact, but not like a full-blown orange wine, like trying to build a little bit more complexity of phenolics into their Rieslings. Like Riesling is, the best value white wine in Australia pretty much, consistently. And it just has so much latitude for you to be able to try things and experiment and, make it in a bunch of different styles. So I think we're just going to see a shitload of that next year.
And I also think in this market now, people are being a little bit more conservative and sticking with what they know. And Riesling is the classic.
Yeah.
And the value is unmatched. And now what you've got with it, you've always had, Pikes and Jim Barry and all these incredible value Rieslings.
Yeah.
And now you've got interest as well. And that's what's taken Aussie Riesling to the next level. And I agree with you.
It's good. It's good, man. Like, and I'm buying a lot of these different styles as well. So, So bring it on.
So from a success story to something I think is going the other way. Shiraz. We have to have a conversation about Shiraz.
Yeah, okay.
When I'm looking at our sales figures now, inventory figures, and I'm looking at what's selling and what's not, Shiraz is a problem, man. Like, the wines are just they don't have the uptake and the popularity that they used to. And these are, fantastic producers from old vineyards, always done well, and no one gives a shit. Coming into the back end of 2024, Shiraz has just dropped off a cliff. I remember 3 or 4 years ago, Shiraz was our number one selling variety, and Pinot was 2, and then kind of Grenache and Cabernet here. Now, Pinot is like 50% more than Shiraz. It's crazy, the shift.
We might have sold more Grenache than Shiraz this year.
It'd be close.
Yeah,
it'd be close. And that's pretty crazy as well. So I think people want lighter reds.
Yep.
I think that's established. Something I was thinking about as well. I reckon people don't like the idea of drinking what their parents drank. Their parents are always drinking Shiraz and they're kind of revolting, going, no, I want Grenache, I want Gamay or Nero or Pinot or whatever.
Yep.
I think that's part of it. I was in the Barossa a few months ago driving around and there was fruit. This is in July. There was fruit still just sitting out on the vineyards.
Shiraz is in a mess.
Yeah.
And we're hearing from producers who are, this is how you know that it's not going the other way anytime soon. Because we're hearing of producers who've had Shiraz in the ground for years and they're grafting that over.
Yeah.
So, like people used to do that to, their Chardonnay or something that wasn't selling or whatever. But now it's Shiraz that they're replacing it with things like Nero or, I don't know,
Riesling or Nebbiolo. Or, there's plenty of people we've spoken to. No, you're totally right. So, look, the great Aussie Shiraz are still great. It's not going anywhere. It's still going to be very important for Australia. But I think it's not going to sit up here as number one anymore. It's going to fall back, and maybe that's what it needs. It's a bit of a correction, and the styles can evolve too. All right, on our final trends.
All right, my last one. This is just something fun that I thought that I've noticed over the last 12 months is oak is out.
Yeah.
And other things are in. So just any other thing, really. So a massive movement in Australia at the moment from small scale producers, but even like big icon producers, to move away from traditional small format oak. Start investigating more things like terracotta amphora, those beautiful ceramic eggs you see around the traps, fermenting in concrete, and even like wine globes, which is like really niche at the moment. But
So why? So what will those do to the wine?
Not too dissimilar from your point about Shiraz, but what these vessels do is allow for freshness, texture, brightness in wines, and that's just a general trend amongst everything in Australian wine at the moment. So getting them away from like heavy extracted oaky styles and looking at things that are more focused on purity. So the benefit of these vessels is they all, to some degree, they're porous, just like an oak barrel. So they allow like the wine to breathe. So you're actually getting the same sort of oxygen ingest that you get through an oak barrel. So basically you get all the benefits without the oaky flavor profile. So you're getting more of a representative sort of flavor profile of the grape or the region. So the wines are more specific.
They just feel a bit more light in their feet.
They're tighter, they're fresher.
Energetic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to see heaps more of it. The obvious example is Yangara over Telly.
Yeah.
So that wine, like 2013, I think, is the first year that the phrase did that. But that wine's got a huge cult following now, and that is just the essence of McLaren Vale Grenache, just done in a ceramic egg. Obviously, like Brash's Nero was one of the first in the country to be made in those terracotta amphora. Massive cult following behind that wine now. And yeah, I think it's just going to keep going. So
it's exciting, I think, to see this experimentation happening in Australia. Alrighty, my last trend for 2025 is about the youth culture.
What about the youth?
There's a great quote from Parks and Rec, where Leslie Knope goes, "The thing about youth culture is I don't understand it."
Yep. Okay.
The youth, right?
Is that because we're old and washed now?
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a dilemma at the moment that everyone's aware of, in that the Gen Zs and millennials coming through aren't buying and drinking as much wine. And we're all a bit confused as to how to engage this market and keep them interested and passionate and learning about wine. They still love to drink wine, but they're drinking less for sure, but arguably drinking better or drinking differently. And I think as an industry, we've got to figure out how do we engage these people.
You know, there's an ocean of faceless wine made in Australia that's produced very cheaply, very cynically, like in...
Do we need more critters with the labels?
Yeah, bring back more critter labels. Now, like those wines still have their place, obviously, but I think that place is shrinking with the new generation. I think what they want is a face and a place attached to their wine. If they're going to be interested in it, they need a story to be able to tell their mates. Like, put it on the dinner table and go, like, this is made by this person in this weird way, in this weird little niche of Beechworth or whatever.
Yeah.
And they want to feel a genuine connection to it, which goes hand in hand with, they want to see that person on social media or whatever.
Yeah, it's a connection, and it's even getting really creative. We're seeing a lot of new packaging and cask wine, so there's more value and sustainability actually built into the product, not just greenwashing. Different methods of distribution to try and get to people, and utilizing these platforms, really creative events, and just, I guess, giving these consumers a compelling reason to try the product. They don't want, a dozen discounted wines off the back of a truck anymore.
No.
They want something different. They want something more creative, more compelling. And I think the trend we'll see from producers that really know what they're doing and are thinking about this is a lot more creative marketing, creative products, not being so singularly focused on variety and vineyard technical notes and reviews, but finding a new way to connect consumers to place and story. Yeah. All right, mate. I reckon we've nailed it.
100%, Tom.
It's done. That's it.
Once again, we'll come back in 12 months and have a look at nothing that we said will come to fruition. But, you know.
Hey, I reckon last year, I remember a couple of them, this fancy fucking rosé.
Fancy fucking rosé I nailed, for sure.
Chilled reds. Fuck
Yes.
yeah.
No one chills them, but there are light reds.
Box wine, we're maybe a bit ahead. Yeah, I haven't seen much box wine since then. But it's coming. It's coming.
Yep.
New regions, like alternative varieties.
I know.
Yeah, those things are definitely happening.
Yeah.
So, long story short, we're awesome at predicting the future. And if you want to know what to drink, just watch this video and share it with your friends and subscribe to our YouTube.
Yeah, do that.
That's it.
Happy 2025, everyone.
Yes, and I'm glad you had a great Christmas.
Did I?
Next week.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you in the next video.
All
Yeah,
right.
or not.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.